Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Shaw, you have, and I think you go by Tony?
Yes.
You have agreed to talk to us about your experiences, both in your journey with depression and then the treatments and, eventually TMS, which is what we're talking about today. So before we get started, please just tell us about yourself.
Okay. I think the biggest thing that's relevant to all of this is that I am a retired Navy chief. Woo woo. Go Navy, beat
Go
Army.
Navy.
Oh, no,
Go Army.
Go Navy, beat Army. After I'm sitting under your Army accolades. I'm a retired Navy chief. Did 20 years in the military. Just enjoyed my time, enjoyed my life, but of course there were all kinds of challenges that were faced,
Sure.
and just I believe the lack of coping mechanisms led me to major depressive disorder. I am a mother, I did all of the wonderful things while active duty, but I definitely felt the pressure and I kind of succumbed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so when do you think the depression started, and what was your journey with having that depression?
When did it start? That's a loaded question there, but from working with a therapist, we actually were able to kind of identify it back to a time frame. First of all, I was stationed out in Japan. I was there in 2011 for the big earthquake tsunami, as we called it, Operation Tamagotchi. So when things really started getting to where I couldn't calm down myself, I couldn't, I guess I was losing the handle on being grounded, was around that time frame. All the events that, led up to and after being out there for that situation. And as my therapist and I kind of came to the conclusion, I was just performing at such a high function. It was one thing after another, after another, after another. And so she basically likened it to a speed train that the brakes just fell off.
Yeah.
The brakes just kind of stopped working. So how do you stop? You can't stop unless you crash.
Sure.
So
No,
that's pretty much what happened.
Right, and like you said, I mean, it's a coping mechanism. It's overwhelming. Most human beings have experienced some level of depression when we lose a loved one, or when we have a bad situation go on. But with the condition of depression, where it gets to the point where it's just an ongoing thing, it can be extremely debilitating and life-threatening.
Right.
What do you think are the false perceptions about depression?
So I think it's perceived as a weakness. If you can't handle, so to speak, that's kind of how it's viewed. If you can't handle this, how can you handle, your family? How can you handle, your work, your job? So one of the big false or misconceptions, and for me as the depressed person, that was also, I felt ashamed. I felt like it was a weakness to talk about it or to go out and seek help. So I probably let it go, I did let it go a lot longer before I got help. And I was actually forced by a leader to go get help. And I definitely thank that person for forcing me to do so. But just that the people who succumb to depression are just people who, don't want to get up and do for themselves. I have found it to be the exact opposite. I have found the people, especially in the military, that have succumbed to it were very high performers. Basically the same thing, just performing until at some point something's got to give. And if you don't take the time, your body's going to make you.
Right. Well, we thank you, not just for your service, but for your courage in coming out and speaking about this and sharing this with us and our patients. Tell us about the other effects of depression. Obviously there's lack of motivation, there's lack of finding pleasure in things that are supposed to be pleasurable, but I think there's other manifestations that people don't usually think of.
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing, a lack of sleep, was huge. And I had an overall cognitive decline. Like simple things that I used to, be able to do and run in circles around just became hard. And with that, it increased the anxiety and lowered self-worth. So it just became a very, very nasty cycle. And with that came the anxiety. I'm not sure if most people have anxiety with major depression, but the anxiety was through the roof. So simple things where, I'm interacting with you and you could have just stubbed your toe and, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, something's wrong because I can feel your energy, you're upset about something. So I just take everything on to be mine. I was super, just very hypersensitive to other people's energy, but it always felt like it was geared towards me, and it wasn't. It was just a false, very, very false sense of how people viewed me. Yeah.
Got it. What were the treatments that you tried for depression before TMS?
Let's see. If I can count how many therapists and counselors I've talked to, it's definitely probably at least 10 different 10 different therapists throughout different duty stations and just that I've talked to. And I would say only a handful I feel resonated with what I was going through. And then as far as medications, I would say I was probably on about 4 or 5 different medications throughout my journey of major depressive disorder.
Did any of those help, at least partially?
Who helped? So I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to be numb and not feel, and at least not feel sad all the time, absolutely. It helped with not feeling sad all the time. But do I feel like it helped me truly deal with the depression? Not really.
Got it.
It was a Band-Aid.
Got it. Tell us about, actually, how did you hear about TMS?
You guys called me. Your wonderful office. I get a phone call. Hello, may I speak to Antonia Shaw? I'm sorry. And yes, I'm interested in this treatment. I knew nothing about TMS, but your office called and explained to me what it was and that I was a good candidate for it. And at the end of the day, my goal was to not be depressed. That was my goal. So hey, let's try it. And it was a journey. Thank you guys for sticking with me, but it was definitely successful in my opinion.
No, we're overjoyed that it was, and that's why we, are really happy that you're sharing your experience with us and with our patients. So tell us about what TMS is, at least, the way you perceived it and how the whole treatment went.
Okay, so again, knew nothing about this treatment. So I did minimal research, and I actually did minimal research for a reason, because I kind of just wanted to come into it and experience it for what it was, not have super expectations of, oh no, this is supposed to happen, or no, that's supposed to happen. But the minimal research that I did, it just sounded like it was a magnet that was supposed to access, and I know you'll get into the scientific part of it, but the certain part of the brain that helps with mood regulation.
Correct.
And I have a very animated imagination. So I kind of just imagined just a little hammer knocking off all the dust and the cobwebs.
Got it.
That's why I was like, oh, okay, I can use that.
Right. Yeah. Basically, the magnetic pulse generator activating the dorsolateral part of the frontal cortex and waking up the neurons, the serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine-producing neurons. And now, how long does it take to complete the whole treatment?
So 36 treatments.
Wow.
Was is the entire treatment, and it's quite the commitment. So there is that, like, who has time to come in 5 days a week and receive this treatment. For some, I guess by the end of the treatment you're up to about 45 minutes or so. So that is quite a commitment for most people.
Yeah.
But again, I was committed to dealing with this depression.
Right. Were there any challenges in terms of mapping or?
Yes. Yes. So again, with the magnetic pulse, you obviously have to find the correct area, and which is called the mapping. And I proved to be a difficult patient for that. But through you guys, your wonderful office, you guys figured it out. I just sat there. I didn't do anything. I just sat there. So, but your wonderful office figured it out to where I was originally, I guess, not going to be a good candidate.
Yeah. No,
and figured it out. And I think I came in at, you said, the highest, what's it called?
The motor threshold. Yeah,
Yes.
so I almost never give up, and I had given up, and I have to give props to Dario, our treater, who said, you know what, let's not give up, let's call Crystal, who's our rep, to come in and help us map, and she did, and we got it, and thankfully it worked. So very, very
Yes.
grateful that you persevered through that.
Yes. And I take pride in breaking records, so
No, yes.
I like that part.
Now, how have you been feeling since you've completed the treatment?
Like a different person.
Yeah.
Truly, like a different person. Prior to, as I said, even whether I displayed it or not when I was in the office, I was still that person of taking everybody's energy on, even though it had nothing to do with me. I made everything like, oh my gosh, you're upset with me about this. Oh, you're upset. It was just terrible energy. I wasn't sleeping. Like I said, I just felt like I was walking around in a huge cloud. Just, and I am very far from that now.
That's awesome. Now, do you feel like you're more inclined now to do the things that you were putting off before, working out, doing things you enjoy, hobbies, pursuits, missions?
Yes. So before, working out is a chore. It was a chore. So of course that would just be something else that I would put on my plate that I would fail to do, that I would go into a nasty cycle of, self-worth issues because I can't complete a simple task. It's just horrible. And just switching my mind frame. I completely switched my mind frame to, first of all, you guys let me know ahead of time, hey, the treatment is only about, 20% or 80%? I don't remember, but the treatment was only a certain portion of it. I still had to go out and make changes in my daily routine in order for it to work. And so I took that on. Basically, I'm like, hey, if we're going to commit to 36 treatments, 5 days a week, why on earth would I come do that and then not complete the rest of the treatment on my own? So that shift in mind frame really helped me. So as far as exercise goes, it no longer became, oh, you need to get out and do exercise because you need to lose weight because you gained 10 pounds and just that nasty cycle. No, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to cure your depression by getting out there and walking, or getting out there and doing this, socializing, volunteering. All of the things. I did all of the things, and it worked.
That is awesome. And I agree with you. I think when I first started encountering especially my brain injury patients with chronic depression. And it was easy for me to say, you know what, I go to the gym 6 in the morning, I work out for an hour, I feel so on top of the world, you should do the same thing. And my patients are like, Doc, like I barely can get out of bed and brush my teeth. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, maybe easy for me to say. So I feel like, and like you said, depression is a complex emotion. I mean, there's the socialization part, there's the
Right.
missions, there's the goals. And so I think that this treatment hopefully gets people to the point, but then they still have to do all the hard work
Yeah.
to maintain it. And you're doing a phenomenal job of it, and you are our model for all of our patients to come. So
But the biggest advice that I can give is just change your mind frame.
Yes.
Just the mindset of this is an opportunity.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do we really want to cure this depression? We do. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is an opportunity to get out there and do it, and it worked. And let me also throw this in. Before starting the treatment, I had become pretty isolated. I mean, my family, my immediate family, other than that, I really was not interacting with a lot of people. So that ended up becoming an important piece. Who would have thought? Because I got to come in and interact daily with, with other people and conversations. And I know that was also a huge part of it.
So tell us about the motor threshold, about the stimulation, and obviously your motor threshold was on the higher level than many of our patients. So how did that feel in terms of the stimulation?
It was painful. It was painful. I think the very first time, I was like, wait. We had to stop it the very first time just because I was like, wait, can we go down just a little bit? So it was painful. I do have a high pain threshold, but there were days where, I left and I may have felt a little bit of a, it wasn't a migraine, but what do you call it, phantom pain or whatever, just right at the site. There were times, as a matter of fact, I think I mentioned when I was explaining it to somebody else, like then I started feeling the pain as I'm explaining it. So, that was, again, my brain. But as we kind of eased into it, it just became tolerable.
Yeah.
Towards the end, when we had some longer breaks and we started back up again, I kind of felt, the pain a little bit more. But I guess at the end of the day, I knew what it was doing. As far as I knew, hey, this is part of the treatment. It's going to help. The pain level will subside. For me, it did subside. So, yeah, it was worth it.
Did you ever have to take a Tylenol or a Motrin before you came in? We've had some patients who've actually either rubbed some lidocaine cream or taken something beforehand.
No, actually, I did not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And no other side effects that you can recall from the treatment?
No, just the pain from the tapping. I can't think of any other side effects, no.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you
Absolutely.
for introducing TMS to me, because I had never heard of it. For anybody who feels like they may be on this same journey as far as the major depressive disorder and it's out of control, you feel like you don't know what to do next, I would highly recommend this treatment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.